Welcome to Sports Guys. I'm your host, Brandon Dirty Taverty, with my co-host, Ben Smith.
Yo.
Yo, what up, Ben?
Not bad.
All right, enough with these freaking accents, all right?
What the hell?
I don't know. Hey, did you know it's going to snow today?
Oh my god.
It's going to snow and
We're all gonna die.
People is going to drive like idiots.
A shocker.
It's kind of funny in Atlanta and all that. Like last year, when the snow went down, they was freaking out.
2 snowflakes and oh my god.
Oh my god, it's a snowflake. I'm going to drive off the road. Tyrone be like, snowflake.
Oh my god, snow!
It's like they're having sex in the car or something. All right, let's talk about sports. Hold on. Wow, these levels are high. Hold on, folks. All right, we good. All right, so let's talk about sports here. So, let's recap the Nebraska versus Rutgers game that happened last Saturday. So, for the most part, it was a domination. Honestly, they shouldn't even got any Rutgers should have gotten no touchdowns. We gave them 14 points by Armstrong throwing 2 stupid boneheaded interceptions. With Armstrong, he went 14 for 21, 188 yards passing, and 3 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. But no correction, Ben.
Correction.
No, there's
He
no.
threw for 163 yards.
Lies. It was 188.
Lies. I'm looking on ESPN right now.
Lies. I did too.
Shocker. I'm looking at it right now.
Give me that phone, boy.
Hey, look at it. It says 163.
Let me. Oh, that's on the phone. That's a laptop.
163.
Boy. Correction. What the fuck? That's last year, you dummy.
Ah, shit.
God damn. Okay.
Are you serious?
I was right.
Wait, what?
Should we restart this?
What? No. This is good. What the? This is not. Oh, shit. This is last year's.
I knew I was right, you idiot.
Ugh.
Anyways, Armstrong was Armstrong was 14 for 21, 188 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions this year in 2015, last Saturday at Rutgers.
Too bad Nebraska's still 5-6.
Too bad that we're still almost bowl eligible. Actually, we could even almost be. We could be bowl eligible at 5-7. There's a chance, actually. So you're saying there's a chance?
There is a chance, but who wants to play in the New Orleans Bowl?
I'd rather be 6-6 and go to a bowl game than 5-7 because I feel like we have a lot more pride at 6-6. Plus, it's a winning record, and if you go 5-7 going into a bowl game, you have a losing record either way.
Oh, yeah.
It just brings confidence though, and it's also good because you can get a lot of extra. You could get like 15 more practices in, and it says a lot for your team for next year, what it's going to look like next year, bringing momentum in. But let's talk more about the Nebraska-Rutgers game. So Armstrong, for the majority of the first half, he was looking amazing. There was one pass that I loved that he rolled out. He was extending the play. He found a wide-open Alonzo Moore, didn't even set his feet, and Alonzo Moore was alone in the end zone, jumped up for the ball, and got a touchdown. And I thought that was amazing. Armstrong also started 7 for 7 in the game. He was just looking good. I like Armstrong personally. A lot of people it's like a love-hate relationship with him. He makes a lot of great plays, but he also makes a lot of boneheaded plays. But for the majority of the first half, he was making great plays, extending plays. I like that we're doing a lot more design runs with him. And then the end of the first half was nearing, and it was about 5 minutes in the second quarter, and that's when it started to get ugly. Armstrong rolled. Kaboom. What? Kaboom? Kaboom.
Blown up.
Kaboom. Okay, you're really getting me off topic today. So Armstrong did another rollout type play, and actually Alonzo Moore was open when he was throwing deep, but he threw a duck. And he just threw it up. They're calling it a YOLO pass. You only live once. It's just like, I'm going to throw it for the hell of it. It was kind of a jump ball, and Rutgers' corner picked it off. So that was not good, and that gave them great field position. They were able to just punch it in on the goal line for a touchdown. Then Armstrong threw another interception. Rutgers scored, and it was 21-14. So if you really think about it, we gave them 2 touchdowns because our defense actually did really, really good this game. We had we forced 2 turnovers, 1 interception by Nate Gary in the end of the game, and Chris Jones with another. And we only gave up 259 yards, and we had 6 sacks, both season highs, or season low technically for the yardage allowed. That's the lowest we've allowed since all year. And then we had 6 sacks. That's a season high. We haven't had that many since South Alabama in week 2 when we got 4.
Damn.
Yeah, so it was looking. Defense was really good. We put a lot of pressure on their young quarterback. We shut down Carew. Carew didn't get many receptions. He was also nicked up towards the end of the game, but for most of the game before he got even nicked up, he didn't get anywhere. He didn't get many receptions. So.
Oh yeah, I mean he was limited to 4 catches for 62 yards.
Yeah,
and then Janarian Grant also got 4 catches for 58 yards.
And a lot of and people like coming into this game, a lot of people are concerned about Carew because our secondary is dead last in pass defense in the country. So it was a little concerning to have Carew back, and that was his first game back for the first time in a couple weeks. Yeah. So I was pretty nervous about that.
Well, how do you think the secondary is going to do against Tavon Smith and Vanderberg next week?
Well, I mean, we had Burbage, I think that's how you say it, from Michigan State, and we contained him pretty well. We still had Connor Cook at quarterback too. I mean, it wasn't we didn't do that great against Connor Cook. He still got 4 touchdowns and 1 interception. But at the same time, we also made him have a lot of incompletions. But at the same time, Connor Cook only is a 56% completion percentage. So
and plus, he's a pocket passer. I mean,
yeah.
If you look at C.J. Beathard, he's nowhere. He will scramble.
He'll scramble. I mean,
he knows
he's more of a pocket passer.
He's more of a pocket passer, but he knows how to run.
If he has to run, he will run. Like against Minnesota, he had that bootleg and ran it for the. Oh, yeah. He ran into the end zone.
I've always loved that play action bootleg.
It always works
because no one looks for it.
Well, that's why I love it when Armstrong rolls out because he has either the choice to run or pass, and then the defender has to make a choice. Like the linebackers out in the flats, he has to either decide to rush Armstrong and then leave our tight end for the dump pass free, or he stays on his man and Armstrong can take off. And that's why, I mean, it's good. I mean, we don't really have a whole lot of design runs, but in a way, if you think about it, a bootleg with Armstrong is kind of a design run. It's either you pass or run, and I think 9 out of 10 times Armstrong would probably run the ball. He's a dual threat anyways. But as I said, we're getting more design runs in there. Speaking of running the ball, Amani Cross for the second straight week was starting at running back. He got 90 yards rushing, and he continues to impress me, and I think he needs to start against Iowa because, like, against Michigan State, I think he's the right man to run the ball that day because Michigan State has a very physical defensive line, and he's physical too, and he doesn't dance around. He lowers his shoulder, and he hits the hole.
Michigan State?
Yeah. And go up to your mic, by the way. Yeah, there you go. But that was against Michigan State, and then against Rutgers, again, he continues to impress. I think he wore down Rutgers' defensive line. He's big and he's physical. And like I said, he doesn't mess around. Like Terrell Newby, I like him, but the reason why he struggles with consistency is because he dances around too much and he doesn't hit the hole and he gets tackled for like 2 yards of loss, or he could have gotten more yards than just 4. Like,
yeah, I mean Terrell Newby, 1 carry, 4 yards.
Yeah,
I mean, even if you don't like him, it's hard to just judge off of 1 carry.
He's getting less yards. He's getting less carries as the year goes on. It's just consistency. You dance too much. It's one thing to do like a little juke here and there, but if you're going to just kind of like stutter your feet before you hit the hole, you should lower your shoulder and hit the hole, and that's why I like Amani Cross. I think any back like that for Nebraska with this pro-style offense works because I think a pro-style offense requires more of a physical running back because you're not going to do a whole lot of like scat backs. You're not going to do a whole lot of like pitching. You're not going to do a lot of like read options. But if you get an Abdullah type like Trey Bryant, this 3-star recruit we got that flipped from K-State to Nebraska, he's more of an Abdullah type, which an Abdullah type is more of a all-around back. He's a scat back. He's physical. He can lower his shoulder, and I think that's perfect for this offense. And I like that Amani Cross has been starting. And then I also like Zigbo, our freshman running back. He had 2 rushes for 33 yards. He's also a Amani Cross type back. He's very physical. He lowers his shoulder. He doesn't mess around. He hits the hole. I like them both. I like the physical type backs, and I think Amani Cross, honestly, is the best running back to start against Iowa because Iowa has also got another stout defensive line like Michigan State had, and I think it'll be important to give the ball to Amani Cross and have that balanced attack like we've had the last 2 weeks to wear down Iowa's defensive line. I mean, what's Iowa's biggest strengths on defense? Is it the defensive line or is it the secondary?
Their secondary is pretty weak. I think Westerkamp's going to run all over them.
Yeah?
Personally,
You
I
mean
think
catch
so.
all over them, pretty much?
Yeah,
But, yeah.
I think he's just going to be running all over the field and uncontained. The run defense is okay. They will give up a few plays like every team, but I mean, like against Minnesota, Shannon Brooks ran for 14 carries and 86 yards. I mean, they always have the breakout runs and all that, but if you're like, they have a good line. I mean, even with the injury to Drew Watt out for the year with the torn ACL, they still have a stout defensive line.
Yeah.
I mean,
Iowa, you know.
It's going to be a good, like, if you're going to win the game, you got to throw it.
I
And that's
think
where I think Iowa has a
your run
clear
defense is
advantage.
really good. But I think all year, in every game, we need a balanced attack, though, because we can't depend on Armstrong throwing the ball over 40 times. We don't know what we're going to get from him. We might get a really good game from him or a really bad game. And I like Armstrong. He has 21 touchdowns, 11 interceptions on the year. He just needs 3 more touchdowns to break the single season most touchdown passes in a single season, which is tied by Taylor Martinez and Zach Taylor. Zach Taylor played in 2006, if you don't remember. He was my favorite quarterback growing up. So the record is 23 touchdowns. Armstrong just needs 3 more to break that. He just needs 24 touchdowns passing. So 21 touchdowns is obviously good. The 11 interceptions, that's a little too high there. But I think he's a big playmaker. We definitely need him in this offense because it makes a difference when, like, Riker 5 threw 4 interceptions against Purdue. So I think we need that balanced attack against Iowa because we need that 1-2 punch. We need to be able to mix it up. If we run the ball, wear down that defensive line, that's good because then we can do a play action and hit Westerkamp or Brandon Riley or Alonzo Moore deep. So if you run the ball well, you set up the pass and you can do a lot of play actions, a lot of trickery there, rollouts, stuff like that. So I think it's important for a balanced attack offense.
You just got to be aware, where the hell is Desmond King?
Yeah, that's true. What about Iowa? What do you think their offensive plan is against Nebraska? Because we're ranked 8th in run defense. Our secondary is dead last, but C.J. Beathard's not really known to throw the ball a whole lot, but a lot of quarterbacks has had success against Nebraska's defense. The only quarterback that hasn't really or didn't do that good against Nebraska's defense is Rutgers quarterback, honestly.
Yeah. And same with Jake Rudock last year, but that was more of on his part.
Yeah.
Because he hesitated so much last year. It was just unbelievable.
Jake Rudock's catching fire, though.
Rudock,
He's looking pretty good.
But I mean, CJ Beathard, he can be inconsistent at times. I mean, let's see how he does against Purdue this weekend at 11. I mean, last week against Minnesota, they went, like, last few weeks, it's been all run. I mean, LaShawn Daniels, 26 carries, 195 yards.
Yeah.
CJ Beathard, 10 carries, 50 yards. I mean, Kanzeri, 10 carries, 31 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's a lot of running, the black and blue backs.
I think, here's my prediction. So it's supposed to be like a 40% chance of snow.
Oh,
I think it's going to
shit.
be a classic Big Ten grinded out type game. It's going to be a late November game. It's going to be cold.
It's going to be that black and blue division right there.
It's going to be classic Big Ten. I think both teams are going to run the ball more than pass, honestly. I could see it. Like I said, that's why I think Amani Cross will be the perfect fit for this game against Iowa because he's physical and he will wear down that line, I think.
You know who I was going to be missing right now?
Huh.
Frank the Take Wiseman.
Oh, Frank Wise. Oh, man. He gave Nebraska some fits, too.
Oh, he gave everybody because he's that powerful back that just hit the hole.
Yeah, I remember in 2012. Actually, really, this game might be like 2012, where it was super windy out. God, it was like 25 mile per hour wind. It was in Iowa City. It was really cold out. And all we did, both teams, was really just run the ball. And Mark Wiseman got well over 100 yards
Mark
running
Wiseman,
the ball.
I messed up there, said Frank.
Yeah, he's basically Mark Wiseman. Yeah, Frank.
Yeah.
My
I don't
bad.
know what I was
I don't know
thinking.
why.
It's Frank the Tank. That's what it was.
Yeah, Frank the Tank. Well, you're thinking of like.
Well, I always
Wisconsin.
called him the Tank. So.
Yeah, well,
He was the
Wiseman for Heisman. I remember that.
Yeah.
No, but he got well over 100 yards rushing against Nebraska. He gave Nebraska's defensive line fits. Obviously, I think our run defense is better than what it was 3 years ago when we played at Iowa City. But I think it's going to be like that. It's going to be a more grinding out, run the ball, classic Big Ten type game. Both teams have a pro-style offense pretty much too. So maybe we need a balanced attack coming into the game. That would be great if we can run the ball, but it might just come down to who can run the ball better, whose offensive line can get the push, and who can hit the hole quicker. So, I mean, who is your run? Shut up. Who is your running back? I don't even know.
It's a mixed attack between LaShawn Daniels and Jordan Canzeri.
Hasn't there been a lot of injuries?
Yeah, and Akram Wildley has really stepped up because those two have been injured a lot this year. So he's had to take a lot of the blunt, and I don't know why they haven't played him more recently. I think he gets some action against Purdue just to keep him fresh.
Yeah.
But
I think coming into the game, I feel like Iowa will take a few shots at our secondary. I mean, why wouldn't you? Honestly, I probably would too. Like Michigan State, they tried to throw the ball deep multiple times on their first 2 drives against our secondary. We actually held them up pretty good. I feel like the secondary is improving. I don't think it's like great or anything, but I like the emergence of Chris Jones. Chris Jones has been looking good. He's been making a lot of plays, sticking his hand in there, getting a lot of incompletions. Nate Gary got another interception against Rutgers. He's been struggling a lot of the season with a lot of missed tackles, blown assignments, but I still feel good. I feel pretty good still about him. Also, I love Kalu. I think Kalu is the best corner on our defense. He's been making the most plays, and it's not just with interceptions or any of that, but when Connor Cook would throw deep or a quarterback would throw deep, he would get in there just in time and stick his hand right in front of the receiver's hand and knock the ball down. So I think Kalu's a big playmaker. He's very athletic. So I feel like the secondary is an up-and-coming secondary. Next year, I think they'll make an improvement, not a dramatic improvement, but I think we could be ranked in the 60s to 50s.
They're going to be middle of the pack.
Yeah, exactly, middle of the pack. So I think it's an up-and-coming thing. I like Chris Jones at corner, and I like Kalu. Nate Gary, I think he's been struggling a little, but it seems like he's kind of forming back into the old Nate Gary. And then with the linebackers, it's really healthy now. I mean, with this bye week too, it's going to help too. But we got Banderas, we got Michael Rose, we got Banderas, we got Michael Rose Ivy, we got Marcus Newby. I mean, Dedrick Young. There's a lot of young talent at the linebacker core, and I feel pretty good about them. We're all healthy there. I mean, it seems like all year we haven't been able to have them all suited up at the same time, and I think against Iowa we will. We'll be able to make that rotation. We'll have a lot of healthy and fresh linebackers in the game against Iowa, so we'll be able to make that rotation, which I think will help a lot. Our defensive line is obviously, I think, the best part of our defense. You look, we had 6 sacks against Rutgers. Vincent Valentine's been stepping up. Greg McMullen's been looking good. Jack Gangwish. Our whole defensive line's been good, and like I said, Vincent Valentine's been really getting in there. He's a big playmaker, and he's been nicked up for a lot of the season. So when he's in there, him and Greg McMullen, I love it. It's like a dynamic duo. But I also like Jack English too. So, and Malik Collins. I mean, I like Malik. Malik has he had a lot of expectations coming to the season. Hasn't really exceeded them, but he still makes a difference. He plugs up holes. He gets pressure on the quarterback. So I love our defensive line. I think it makes a difference. If we get pressure on CJ Beathard, I think that makes a huge difference there.
Oh yeah, you gotta contain him.
Oh God, you can't let
him scramble. You can't let him run.
You can't let him get hot.
He will break out and run on you.
Yeah, and
he'll always, no matter what, he'll break out for at least a 20-yard run.
I think our defense,
at least once.
Yeah, and I think the game plan with our defense, I think Mark Banker needs to think that we need to put pressure. We need to send some of the linebackers. We need to have our defensive line bull rush. We need Vincent Valentine and Greg McMullen to attack. We need to be aggressive. And people say, well, Iowa's offense isn't that good. We've thought about that against freaking Wisconsin, and then Joel Stave puts over 300 yards passing on us. So you can't overlook them. You got to put – I think this defense needs to put pressure on the quarterback. I think we're athletic enough to get to the quarterback, so we need to send pressure.
I feel like it's going to be a step on last year. I mean, last year – Iowa wanted to throw the deep ball. Jake Rudock was just hesitant as hell.
Yeah.
Every single play, he would throw 2 or 3 pump fakes because he didn't know what he wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
This year, I think they're going to go with that same game plan, throw it deep. Beathard's not going to hesitate to throw that deep ball. I think.
Right. Well, I think with last year, too, you guys kind of got conservative with some conservative play calling last year when you guys were up big. And then we made that comeback and then won in overtime.
Old Kirk.
Yeah, so
That's
if you
the
guys
old
are
Kirk.
honestly, this is for both teams, Nebraska or Iowa. If somehow one team starts to pull away by 14 points or whatever, you got to keep your foot on the pedal or keep your foot on the throat and keep going. And that's something like with Nebraska versus Rutgers. I was getting concerned when it was 21-14 at one point, even though we gave them those 14 points. We still
counts.
I don't care running up the score or not. You just got to keep your foot on the pedal and keep going. You cannot, especially at Nebraska. I don't trust any close score anymore.
So if they're up 55-0, foot on the pedal?
Well, I mean, if it's the fourth quarter, 5 minutes, then no.
Foot on the pedal. You just said never take your foot off the pedal.
Okay, fine. Yeah, I wouldn't mind blowing out Iowa like that, but we all know it's not going to happen like that.
No.
Like I said, it's going to be crappy weather. It's going to be
It's going to be fun weather.
oh God, it's football weather.
Oh, yeah.
So it's going to be close. I think it'll be a classic Big Ten game. So it's that's our thoughts on Nebraska and Iowa and the recap on Nebraska and Rutgers. So just a quick overview of that. So I think the game plan needs to be we need to get a balanced attack, but we need a Monty Cross to get hot because I think it's going to be crappy weather out. So I think whoever runs the ball the best will actually win the game, and let's see whose defensive line is better. But also we need Armstrong to make clutch throws on third down. We need him to make smart decisions. Also, actually, before we get off this topic, one thing that Nebraska's been doing well the last few games is we've cut down on penalties. We've only had 2 against Rutgers. We only had 2 against Michigan State. That makes a big difference. Like that's one of the biggest improvements I've seen from this Nebraska team so far is cutting down on penalties. And that's huge because I feel like in all 6 of our losses is because we shot ourselves in the foot. You know, and turnovers is still kind of a problem, but we've also cut down on that too. So if you think about it, in those 6 losses, we basically beat ourselves. And with cutting down, with only 2 penalties, that's huge. It makes all the difference because if you get a penalty on 3rd and 5 for like a false start song, you go from 3rd and 5 to 3rd and 15. That's big. That makes a huge difference there. And obviously you want to be on a 3rd and shorter type range. So Nebraska cutting down on penalties is really, really big. And does Iowa even have a penalty problem?
No, not really. I mean,
Nebraska's was the most penalized team in the country. Now we started the season like at 120 something, and now we're only down to like 68th. So that's a dramatically good improvement. That shows that we are getting more discipline as the season goes along.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you don't really see very many flags fly anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll have like a holding or something, occasional hold or something, because that's just the Big Ten refs.
Oh, God.
They love their holding.
Big Ten refs are the most ticky-tacky type refs. Like, hey, I'll take the Big Ten refs over those ACC refs, though.
I'll take them over the Big 12.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
did you see that blown
Oh,
call?
don't. Oh, my God. Dude, I know about Big 12 refs. Trust me. Nebraska had to deal with. Oh, my God. Don't even get. You people that think Big 10 refs are bad, which they are, but Big 12 refs, my God, they deserve to get kicked in the nuts. But ACC is also a mess, too. When you get a whole crew suspended after a game, that says something right there. So, all right. So we talked about what we want to talk about. Let's move on to UFC. Everyone is talking about Ronda Rousey against Holly Holm. And Holly Holm has a dick. Penis. She got a big old dick there. No, seriously, if you check out the photo, you see a little thing popping out. I don't know what that could possibly be, but it's got to be what we all think it is. I don't see how it could be.
I don't know. If it's not that, she might want to get that checked out.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Either way, you might want to get that checked out.
But
I mean, still, Holly Holm fought a good, perfect fight.
Well, Ronda Rousey didn't come in expecting a boxing match, which she should have, because Holly Holm's a former boxing champion.
She's a boxer. She's a kickboxer. I mean,
she's boxing all around.
She basically watched the film perfectly. She got Ronda frustrated early, basically got her desperate, had her chase her all around the cage. Ronda just came in, looking for a brawl. Because, I mean, if you look at her last opponents, Besh Gohea, brawler. Kat Zingano came out furiously. Brawl. I mean, the last one that really didn't come out, well, kind of, was Misha Tate, and she kind of came out still furious and brawlish type. Like, Holly Holm is the first person who actually strategically came out and had Ronda chase after her and brawl after her.
Well, I also don't think that it helped that Ronda was coming in so cocky. She didn't even touch her gloves, and she kept talking smack, which is great. You're 12-0, but you could still lose. It's possible. Look at Mike Tyson versus Buster Douglas, back in the 80s. No one expected that. Mike Tyson came in cocky. He came in a little out of shape because he thought he had this in the bag. Buster Douglas took advantage of that. Buster Douglas wanted it more and beat Mike Tyson. And I think that's what kind of happened here. Holly Holm wanted this more than Ronda Rousey. I feel like Ronda didn't take this very seriously.
I think she just went all Rocky 3. Fame just got to her, and she got beat down, just like Mr. T beat down Rocky. And you know what? I think my prediction, they're going to put her on the UFC 200 card, depending on if she passes her CT scan.
Right.
Her as the co-main event, Aldo McGregor 2. Oh, that'd be the best,
sick.
awesome event ever.
Oh, man.
Because that's going to be an awesome fight up here in a couple weeks.
I think it's interesting also, Floyd Mayweather's defending her, even though we're talking about getting in a fight, having a little fight, because Ronda was pissed off at him with all the women beating, which is understandable.
It's understandable.
Oh, yeah, I would be pissed. I don't like Floyd personally. But what pisses me off is seems like a lot of people all of a sudden jumped off her bandwagon after Holly won. Everyone started making fun of Ronda. It's like, you guys literally a day before this was drooling all over her, saying she's hot and she's a badass and all that. And then once she gets her face rocked, everyone's making fun of her. Like, you can't just jump off the bandwagon like that right away. I mean, I think she's still a good fighter. I didn't expect her to go undefeated. No, I don't think anyone.
I don't know.
I
thought she was going to lose to Besh Gohea personally, but
And-
I'm glad she lost so Fame would get to her. And it's going to be nice to hear Bruce Buffer to call her a challenger.
Oh, man. Well, I think it's not fair to also make fun of her because she is the reason why girl MMA fighting is what it is now. It is on a whole.
Even just women's MMA, women's sports in general.
Oh my God, I think she's an inspiration for all of them because who would have ever thought that a girl MMA fight would get as much hype as it did when she faced Holly?
The second most pay-per-view buys in UFC history.
That's crazy. And you know what else is crazy? Girl MMA fighting in the UFC has only been around since 2013.
Oh yeah.
And it's already on this level that what the men are on. Like,
I mean, it's higher
it's
than
a huge
some
talk.
divisions. I mean, it's hard not to. It's not hard to beat Demetrius Johnson, the flyweight champion, right now. I mean, he's a bore to watch. But I mean, it's fun to watch those Ronda Rousey fight. It's fun to watch, like the strawweight fight before it. It was good, and I mean, it's personal favorite. I like Paige Van Zandt, a strawweight fighter. I showed you a picture of her, and she is a stone cold fox
and hot.
She is gonna be.
She is nice.
She basically is going to become the next hand-picked person the UFC takes.
Ah, damn. I agree. So, yeah, I agree.
She's perfing over there.
Oh yeah. So that was the UFC talk, and I agree. And I think Ronda will win her next fight because she's gonna fight really pissed off, and I don't think she's gonna overlook whoever she wants. She's just gonna come in there firing and beating the hell out of whoever she faces. But I also saw something that she's medically forced to stay out for 6 months, but I don't think that's gonna stop her.
She has to stay out for 2 months, and then she has a CT scan.
A
neurological scan.
And she busted her lip pretty bad too.
Oh yeah, she had surgery on that like the day after.
Right.
If she passes that scan, then she's eligible. If she doesn't pass it, then she's out for 6 months, and then she has to take another one.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about college football playoffs real quick. We're kind of running out of time here because of class and all that for me. So college football playoffs, I want to point out 3 teams, and I'm going to say my case. So at number 4, Notre Dame. Number 6, Oklahoma State. Number 7, Oklahoma. Now, this is what I want to say. If Oklahoma wins out, beats Oklahoma State, and they come in 10-1, 11-1. And it comes down to the playoff committee, Notre Dame or Oklahoma. Are you playing the fight song?
No, I'm playing music.
What the hell? Turn that. He's playing the NFL highlights shit from Sports Center. It's not even NFL stuff.
Who cares?
What? Put it up to the mic real quick. Or you could have just held your phone to it. All right. Can I talk? All right. We're getting very off topic here today. All right. So, if it came down to Notre Dame and Oklahoma, you'd have to pick Notre Dame because Notre Dame creamed Texas early in the season. Oklahoma had a bad loss versus Texas. So, and you also look, I mean, you could look at strength of schedule. Obviously, Oklahoma would have beat more ranked teams than Notre Dame did because Notre Dame did just beat Navy and Temple. And honestly, I don't exactly like that Notre Dame's in the top 4. But if you had to pick between Notre Dame and Oklahoma for that 4th spot, I'd have to go to Notre Dame because Oklahoma losing to Texas really screwed them, I think.
I think as long as they can beat Stanford.
What, for Notre Dame?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
Notre Dame or Stanford also lost last week to Oregon, so that really hurts them.
But still, Oregon's still a good team. They're a top 25 team.
Oh, yeah, now they are. Right.
I mean, they're just on the outside looking in. I mean, they're nowhere close, but, I mean, they're going to be falling, of course.
Yeah.
Because there's no way of building after Mariota.
Right.
But,
So,
I mean, it's still a bad loss, but it's not as bad as people think.
yeah, I got you. But I think Oklahoma State is the only way that a Big 12 team can be in the top 4 because I honestly think that the committee will be looking at that Texas loss for Oklahoma and then comparing that to Notre Dame because if Oklahoma State wins, they'll be undefeated. They have wins against like 4 top 10 teams, and they'll be coming in with a lot of momentum. I think you'd have to pick Oklahoma State over Notre Dame because their resume looks better. Oklahoma State obviously wouldn't have any bad losses because they'd be undefeated. So I'd put them in that number 4 spot. If they go undefeated, beat Oklahoma, I feel like you'd have to put that over Notre Dame.
There's no way. If they can,
No?
if they win out, there's no way.
No way what? That they
that
they
they
would be
don't
left
make
out?
it. Yeah.
Right.
I
Do you
mean-
agree with me that they should be over Notre Dame?
Oh, definitely.
I
I mean,
think so.
I'm
Notre Dame's
big on-
resume isn't that great, and that's what I'm saying.
I'm big
I
on
don't
Notre
exactly
Dame.
like Notre Dame at 4, but if it came down to Notre Dame and Oklahoma, I'd have to pick Notre Dame.
They're a placeholder right now because
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta wait until the outcome.
Right. So,
They're
also,
still gonna make a BCS bowl though. That's
they'll be in a New Year's Six bowl either way. I mean, I guess we could talk about Iowa too, but honestly, they are only going to make it if they win the Big Ten championship.
Yeah,
they got to
they
beat
have-
Nebraska and win the Big Ten championship.
they will most likely have to beat either Ohio State or Michigan
And
State.
honestly, I feel like, okay, first off, my upset prediction of the week, I think Michigan State will beat Ohio State. Ohio
I
State.
think so. I don't know. I mean,
it'll be
the,
close.
The way they looked against Maryland last week.
Yeah, but then you look at Ohio State too. They haven't looked good at all this season, really.
Well, I thought the same way about Florida State last year.
Yeah, but Ohio State is better than that Florida State team, I think, last year. But at the same time, Ohio State should be creaming everybody that they have. They have 2 capable quarterbacks, Cardell Jones and JT Barrett. Only 1 loss combined with those 2 quarterbacks. You have Ezekiel Elliott, a Heisman
He's a
candidate.
beast.
You have Braxton Miller at the slot. And then on defense, you have Joey Bosa. Who did that Florida State team have last year? They had Jameis Winston. That's pretty much it. And I think that Ohio State, the reason why I don't give them as much respect is because they don't cream teams. They should be killing teams because they have a lot of talent. And last year, yeah, down the stretch, they started great. They started off, they blew out Wisconsin 59-0. They beat Alabama pretty handedly in the playoff game. And then in the national championship, they took care of Oregon. That's great and all, but we're not talking about last year. Last year, they still beat teams pretty well. And if you have this much talent, you should be beating people in convincing fashion.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they do have some good wins. I mean, they beat Virginia Tech 42-24.
Yeah.
Hawaii 38-0.
38-12.
No, 38-0.
Correction. No, just kidding. All right,
I mean, Rutgers 49-7. Illinois 28-3. I mean, they do have some good wins on their
Right.
record. But, I mean, you should be better than beating Indiana 34-27.
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Indiana's a
Indiana's a
competitive
tough team. They took Michigan a
They're
double
like
overtime.
they're gonna be like Northwestern.
I'm
They
just saying.
give them a couple of years.
Right.
And they'll
I'm just
be-
saying though, Ohio State should be just killing everybody. And look at their schedule too. It's not hard at all, I think. So they should be creaming everybody. So, and honestly, if Iowa faces Ohio State, I think Iowa could honestly take it to Ohio State. But also, I think Ohio State's going to lose to Michigan State this week. So that's my upset pick.
All I know is if Iowa makes the playoffs, they're gonna get killed. There's
You think?
no.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's no way.
Yeah,
Maybe with Drew Watt in there putting pressure, but
right.
I mean it'd be a tough game.
Also, real quick, North Carolina. They only have one loss. They've been creaming teams. They put up 60 last week. They put up 60 the week before against Duke. They're an explosive offense. They score a lot. They only have one loss against Florida State on week 1 of the college football season. No one knows how that was just a fluke, obviously. I don't know how that happened. Well, no one really thought much of North Carolina coming into the season, but now that you look at them now compared to the week 1, you're just like, how the hell did they lose to the old bald coach at South Carolina?
That was probably more just rust.
Yeah.
More than anything. 'Cause they always
your
come
first
out.
game is always not your best.
I mean, looking at North Carolina, they always. I mean, I've watched them their first game a couple of years. They always come out sluggish.
Yeah.
They always just have those first game blues. They just don't come out with that fiery passion like they have.
Right. If they were undefeated right now, I guarantee they'd be in the
They
top
would-
4.
I would see them top 7.
Really?
It would make it a lot more interesting conversation.
But they've been winning convincing fashion. I feel like they've been beating teams like they were supposed to, like Ohio State should be doing.
Oh yeah, I mean Wake Forest 50-14, Duke 66-31, Miami 59-21.
If North Carolina beats Clemson in the ACC championship,
Oh, boy.
then North Carolina has to be in the playoffs. Because first off, you're beating the number 1 team in the country, and I think they'd be launched in it. So North Carolina could be your dark horse. And remember, Ohio State in the first college football playoffs started at number 15. So North Carolina this year could be that Ohio State of last year. You'd never know. And I could see them taking it to Clemson. Real quick, we're running out of time here. Let's talk about Heisman real quick, and then a little bit of NFL, and then I really got to get going. But Heisman, Derrick Henry is in the lead for. He's number 1 in the Heisman candidates. I think Dalvin Cook at number 2 and Leonard Fournette at 3. I think Dalvin Cook should be number 1, and I hate this about the Heisman because they kind of base off your Heisman, like your Heisman candidate, whatever. They base you off of your team record almost more than it does of your performance.
Oh, definitely.
And with Florida State with 2 losses, that's hurt Dalvin Cook. And I feel like Dalvin Cook's a more complete back than Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, don't get me wrong, Derrick Henry is a great back. He's been having a lot of good games. But if you also look at Dalvin Cook, I like him more. He has more breakout speed. He breaks off more 50-yard runs. He puts up more 200-yard rushing games. I just like Dalvin Cook more, and I think it's not fair that he's not number 1 just because based off of what Florida State's record is.
Personally, I think Derrick Henry's still at 1 right now just because, I mean, who else? No one's up there right now.
Well, I think Dalvin
But I
can
mean,
take it.
right now, Dalvin Cook is probably my 3rd or 4th pick right now just because I am on that biased shoe of records. I've just always been that way. Number 2 right now for me, Baker Mayfield.
Yeah?
I mean, it kind of comes up like, I don't know if
He's kind of late in the Heisman
he's
conversation.
late, but I mean he's coming up strong in numbers.
How about Ezekiel Elliott?
Ezekiel Elliott's probably up there. He's probably 2nd or 3rd.
We have a very strong running back class this year with Ezekiel Elliott, Derrick Henry,
Leonard
Dalvin
Fournette.
Cook. How about McCaffrey from Stanford? Yeah, Leonard Fournette. But Leonard Fournette, I think, is done.
He's dropping.
Okay, 1 bad game I can understand. 2 bad games in a row and then losing to Arkansas, getting shut down by their defensive line. Not like that Arkansas is bad, but they're nothing great. You should be able to put at least 100 yards rushing on them. You're pretty much out of that. So, but this is why Leonard Fournette needs to stay next year so he can raise his Heisman stock and his draft stock. So if I was him, he needs to stay. Obviously there's still more growing for him and more to learn about the position of a running back. I think he's going to be too immature coming into the NFL if he decides to go into the draft this year.
Isn't he a senior?
No, he's just a redshirt sophomore. He was only a freshman last year. Remember when he striked the post against Texas A&M?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, I know. He seems like he's freaking...
He looks like he's 35.
Yeah, I am 12. But no, I think Leonard Fournette's Heisman chances are done this year. That's why I think he needs to come back next year. And if you look, I think he could be a front runner next year. Some of the running backs this year are leaving, so
I mean, he'll be the preseason pick.
Right.
I mean,
you just can't have games like he did against Alabama and Arkansas.
I mean, he still put up 91 against Arkansas.
Yep.
But I mean, still they lost.
Yeah. All right, so NFL, my Packers on a 3-game losing streak. I'm pretty pissed off. They lost to the Lions. At least we lost to 2 undefeated teams at the time. Eddie Lacy is back in practice. Rodgers is limited in practice this week, but he's back. And we play the Minnesota Vikings. And I just want to say this. People, shut the hell up about Green Bay. Like, we are fine. It's a 3-game losing skid, but you think in 2010, we were 8-6. We needed to win 2 more games to even make the playoffs. We barely made the playoffs. We are the 6th seed in 2010, and we ended up winning the Super Bowl. You also look at the New York Giants in 2007, they were 8-8 going into the playoffs and won the Super Bowl. Just because Green Bay is on a 3-game losing streak, you can't count them out already. I think that's ridiculous.
You're welcome for that. The Bears should not have let the Packers in.
And you know what's funny? Chicago in 2010 when we won the Super Bowl, Chicago is actually the division winners of the NFC North, and we beat you guys in the NFC Championship.
Week 17, Bears-Packers. Bears basically gave up. They basically let the Packers slide in.
We got in there. It was a 21-14 game, remember? Aaron Rodgers threw an interception, and he chased down Brian Urlacher and probably got the best tackle of the day because that probably saved Green Bay's game and saved their playoff hopes.
And beat us in the...
Go Pack, go, baby. But we have a tough game against the Minnesota Vikings this Sunday, and I'm not saying that Green Bay win the NFC North, but if we could still get a playoff chance, if we still get in the playoffs and the Vikings somehow win the NFC North, we'll be fine. I don't think that the Green Bay season's over, but I think Green Bay will lose their 3-game skid, or they will snap their 3-game skid this Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings because we're going to play pissed off. We're going to play motivated. It'll be a very close game, but I still think we'll pull it off against the Vikings because Aaron Rodgers, I know, is sick of this, and I think we're just going to play very motivated.
I think James Starks and Eddie Lacy have to take the weight off of
Rodgers' shoulders, definitely, because this offensive line has been struggling.
I mean, you can't have Aaron Rodgers throwing 61 times in a game. Right. I mean, you can't depend on that all season long.
No. And that's been a problem. Like, Aaron Rodgers hasn't had time throwing the ball, and when he does make a mistake, it's because he has somebody in his face. And I'll be honest, too, Aaron Rodgers hasn't been Aaron Rodgers as of late. He's missed a lot. But at the same time, it also doesn't help that last week Devontae Adams had a lot of drops. He dropped that 2-point conversion. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers could have had a better throw, but the ball hit Devontae Adams in the hands. It was a good play defensively. He got his hand and swatted it right out. But if you get the ball and you put 2 hands on it, you need to catch it and secure it. No matter if you press it on your chest or something. But if it hits you in the hands, that's on you. That's a drop. Yeah, that was a good defensive play, but Devontae Adams had a chance to secure it right when he touched the ball. I mean, it's easier said than done, but it did not help that he had a lot of wide receivers that dropped the ball. And I'm starting to see we don't take many shots downfield like we did last year because we don't have Jordy Nelson as our deep threat. Jordy Nelson is a very underrated wide receiver, as in speed-wise and in
He's
general.
He's the most underrated wide receiver in the NFL,
definitely,
in my opinion.
And people underestimate how athletic he is. He's very fast. He makes very good cuts. He's a great route runner. I mean, he could kill people on that fly route. And then when he catches the ball, he makes an amazing cut back in the inside, and it goes back outside for the end zone. So Jordy Nelson being out is actually making a big difference. And our deep threat is gone, and that's pretty tough to throw deep because we don't have Jordy Nelson.
Well, you knew that coming into the season. He was going to be a big part.
But
and once he went down, it was just a big...
Well, for the first half of the season, it seemed like we were fine without him. But then when we played teams like the Denver Broncos and the Carolina Panthers, just the more tougher teams with the better defenses, we need to take more shots downfield. We can't take these little dump passes to Randall Cobb or little screen passes to James Starks or something. We're depending more on Richard Rodgers as our tight end, and I like Richard Rodgers, and there's nothing wrong with throwing to our tight end, but we got to once in a while take a deep throw. We got to take a shot. Also, I like Jared Abadares getting some more reps at wide receiver. He kind of reminds me of a more Jordy Nelson type, so I kind of like to try to hit him deep.
What the hell happened to James Jones?
Jones is still...
Wasn't he supposed to be
He started off really fast.
He was supposed to be that makeup deep threat.
Yeah, more of the deep threat, right. He got 0 receptions last week. He got shut down. He's been getting shut down the last 3 weeks.
And I think that's part of the problem, too.
Well, I think that's the problem with this whole receiving core is we're not able to get open. We're not getting open, and I think that's the one thing with Aaron Rodgers. The reason why he holds on the ball longer now too. Also, it doesn't help the line that he's holding the ball. Also, it's like he can't find anyone open, and it just doesn't. It sucks. He doesn't get enough time to keep looking to find that open wide receiver or let our wide receivers get open or try to get open because our offensive line is struggling and that defensive line is in Aaron Rodgers' face.
Oh yeah.
So the offensive line needs to improve, and I think that's also the reason why Eddie Lacy's been struggling is because that O-line is not blocking for him.
It's a weak O-line. I mean, that's the first thing they got to issue in the offseason. They got to get either a young draftee or make a trade.
Yeah. I think we need to draft some young guys too and develop them. Our offensive line, honestly, I don't think has been that great the past few years. I think Aaron Rodgers just makes them look good because he's able to escape so many sacks. He's able to scramble.
He's able to make that deep throw.
I mean, he doesn't even have to set his feet to make a beautiful throw. It's insane. So don't panic. Don't just drop out the Packers just because they have a 3-game losing streak. They could still make the playoffs, and I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl, but I'm not saying they won't or they will or they won't. They still have a chance, so stop ruling out the Packers.
All right. So if they do lose, then is it panic time? Or
against Minnesota?
Yeah. If they lose, when is it okay to start panicking?
I don't know. Maybe we should panic if we lose to the Minnesota Vikings. They're still a good team, but then you think about it, that's 2 straight NFC North losses. So then you're 2-2 in the division play. So
I think if they lose to Minnesota and then they lose to Chicago on Thanksgiving night,
Jesus Christ,
then it's time to throw everything overboard.
Out. First off, because we lost to the Chicago Bears.
Hey, the Bears are good.
Second off, we would be 6-5 with a 5-game losing streak. And I think that game against Chicago is going to be a tough game. It's going to be on Thursday night. It's going to be on Thanksgiving. And I think the Bears and Packers is always a good game, typically. So
typically.
I mean, no matter the record, it's usually tough. It's just like in college when you get like the old times, like Nebraska versus Oklahoma. You throw out the old records, or Michigan versus Ohio State. It's always a good game.
I mean, it's going to be a good game because all the veterans on Chicago's team, they're stepping up. I mean, I thought Tracy Porter was just going to have a bad season, just regular so-so, just old guy, just sitting there, placeholder, so they can get somebody in the draft. He is stepping up.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
All the guys they brought in.
You need your veterans to step up.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
you put a young guy under your wing.
I mean, they really are teaching them. I mean, Kyle Fuller isn't stepping up to the level he was last season, but I mean, he's still making a difference in that secondary.
Right. And I think Green Bay wants to play really good that night. I mean, we always want to play good, but we want to be extra motivated because Brett Favre will be in Lambeau Field getting his jersey retired at halftime against the Bears on Thanksgiving night. We don't want to disappoint Brett Favre. He's the freaking greatest Packer of all time. That's right.
Then why weren't you saying that when he left for the Jets?
Well, I didn't mind that he left for the Jets. I was pissed when he went to the Minnesota Vikings. But what Packer fan wasn't pissed? It's the Minnesota Vikings. Come on, man. Yeah. All right, guys, that's all the time that we have today. I'm your host, Brandon Saverdi, Dirty Brandon Saverdi, and my co-host, Ben Smith.
Peace.
Any thing you got to say before we leave?
I don't know. Let's see how it does. How Thanksgiving goes.
How it does.
I'm gonna get fat.
We gonna get fat and watch some football.
Woo!
And then unbuckle our belts because our stomachs are about to burst and the freaking button's gonna go everywhere. All right, see you guys later. Happy Thanksgiving. Go Big Red, go Packers, and whatever hell teams Ben likes.
Bear down.
Gay. All right,
Hey.
see you guys later. Peace.